Pascoe Vale.
Thank you, Acting Speaker, and I rise to speak in support of the Justice Legislation Amendment Miscellaneous Bill of 2025. Acting Speaker, we know that every Victorian deserves that right to feel safe in their homes, their communities, their streets, their neighbourhoods and their workplaces. And that's why, along with ensuring we provide Victoria Police with the powers, tools and resources they need to keep us safe, we also need to continue investing to address the root causes of crime through measures that support housing, unemployment, skills, education, health, wellbeing and socio-economic outcomes for all our communities. But it's also why fundamental to maintaining a fair, safe, accessible and resilient justice system for all is ensuring we continue to reform and modernise our criminal justice courts and social services sectors to suit contemporary settings and community expectations. And, Acting Speaker, that's what this bill is all about. The Justice Amendment Bill implements these critical reforms to achieve administrative efficiencies and correct technical errors across numerous legislation. And the bill will, 1, amend the Crimes Act of 1958 to narrow the trustee's secret commission offence so that it only prohibits dishonest or otherwise corrupt conduct, amend the Justice Legislation Criminal Appeals Act of 2019 to extend the default commencement date of summary appeal reforms by 3 years to 1 July 2028 to allow additional time for implementing and planning, amend the Criminal Procedure Act of 2009 and Sentencing Act of 1991 to allow the Magistrates Court of Victoria to achieve efficiencies following investment in its case management system. It will correct the section references errors in the Work Screening Act of 2020. The bill will amend the Social Services Regulation Act of 2021 to rectify an unintended deemed exclusion for out-of-home care workers. And finally, the bill will amend the Magistrates Court Act of 1989 to remove an obsolete regulation making power to prescribe areas where police officers are not required to serve civil processes. And when combined, of course, these reforms will strengthen and modernise a number of Victorian acts to support the courts and improve the operation of Victoria's justice and legal systems. In terms of amendments to the Crimes Act of 1958, the bill will replace Section 180 of the Act relating to Secret Commission of Trustees. The changes break the old offence down into 5 separate offences, making them clear and narrow to only capture conduct done with dishonest or otherwise corrupt purposes. The changes will also remove the requirement to obtain assent of trust beneficiaries or the Supreme Court for the proposed conduct, which will streamline routine transaction. And these reforms to the Crimes Act are important, Acting Speaker, as recent Supreme Court decisions demonstrated that the current offences that may capture routine good faith and standard transactions associated with the replacement of a trustee. In terms of the amendments to the Criminal Procedure Act of 2009 and the Sentencing Act of 1991, the changes will allow the court to expand its case management system to automate various high-volume administrative functions in criminal proceedings, such as filing applications and documents. The amendments to the Worker Screening Act of 2020 will make those technical amendments to correct section references and errors relating to processes or required definitions for working with children's checks and checks to the National Disability Insurance Scheme checks. Amendments to the Social Services Regulation Act of 21 proposes to repeal Section 330G2A of the Act to ensure out-of-home care cannot be subject to an exclusion decision under the Worker Carer Exclusion Scheme unless they have both engaged in misconduct and pose an unacceptable risk of harm to children and young people. And this approach addresses the risk of unjust outcome for carers while preserving protections for children in out-of-home care. The amendments to the Magistrate Court Act changes are technical in nature, and the amendments to the Justice Legislation Criminal Appeals Act will postpone the commencement of summary appeal reforms contained in the Justice Legislation Amendment Criminal Appeals Act of 2019 from 5 July 2025 to 1 July 2028. Commencing the reforms in July 2025 would cause significant disruption to the court system as the legal sector and courts are not yet prepared to implement these changes. This will ensure that the reforms do not impact court efficiency and the implementation of other recent significant reforms, including bail, youth justice and committal processes, which also promote victim interests. A recent victim-centric reform includes strengthening the test for cross-examination and committal proceedings. This reform will significantly reduce the amount of pre-trial evidence given by victims and witnesses. The recent changes to the Youth Justice Act introduce more options for restorative justice, allowing offenders to hear directly from victims about the harm they've caused to help victims heal and give offenders insight into the impact of their offending. The new bail laws as well, for example, will put, of course, community safety front and centre of every bail decision. We are cracking down specifically on the crimes that are on an upward trend while people are out on bail. That is aggravated burglary, home invasion, armed robbery and carjacking. These crimes have a real and serious impact on victims, and it is completely unacceptable that alleged offenders are being bailed time again previously for these crimes. The benefits of these reforms will not be achieved if courts are not prepared for their implementation. That's why the deferring commencement of these reforms will allow additional time for them to be implemented. In terms of court funding, the opposition have had quite a lot to say about court funding as part of this debate. But going back through the budget figures, the facts speak for themselves. We are continuing to invest more in the courts and legal systems than previously the case. The 24-25 budget provided a total investment of $164.9 million to support the ongoing operation of therapeutic court programs, court holding cells, improving court access and undertaking repairs and maintenance of court buildings. This investment builds on the approximately $435 million in funding over the previous 4 budgets, which is helped promote swifter resolution of court cases, with backlogs reducing by 14% over 2023-24 and a decrease of 30% since pending matters peaked as a result of COVID in January 2022. And of course, Acting Speaker, these reforms will build on those ongoing investments we've continued to make to support community safety. $4.5 billion for Victoria Police, 3,600 new police officers recruited since 2015. Victoria home to one of the largest sworn police officers in forces in the nation. 180 new police officers have been recruited across Merri-bek in recent years. 21 additional dedicated family violence prevention officers across Merri-bek have also been recruited. We've finalised the new police CBA, a 4.5% annual increase for officers, 0.5% increase for general duties officers and other improved standards and workplace conditions. And of course, we heard the Minister for Police today highlighting the appointment of the new Victorian Police Commissioner, Mike Bush, at the helm of Victoria Police. We've introduced those stronger bail laws that place community safety first, crack down on those dangerous, violent and repeat offenders. And of course today the huge announcement of $727 million through this year's budget to improve and expand our corrections and justice systems capacity and to keep corrections staff safe. But it's also about the other reforms, Acting Speaker: tobacco licensing and illicit tobacco trade crackdowns, organised crime reforms and crackdowns, outlaw motorcycle gangs, unexplained wealth, and our crackdown on dangerous weapons such as machetes. Combined with the bill today, each of these reforms will help keep people across Victoria and my community of Merri-bek safe. And it is Victoria Police officers across Fawkner and Brunswick Police stations who do an outstanding job in that regard. On the Thursday, the 3rd of April, local police held a neighbourhood policing forum at the Coburg Town Hall that was attended by over 100 local residents, with local receiving a really comprehensive update on the key safety and crime trends over the last 12 months and beyond, including overall offences recorded being at 13,700 in 2020, up to 15,300 in 2024. The top 5 recorded crimes across Merri-bek were reported as stealing from a motor vehicle, general and other thefts, criminal damage, breaches of family violence orders, motor vehicle theft. Family violence, sadly, of course, continues to remain one of the biggest contributors for police call-outs. 2,004 incidents reported in 2020, but having reduced to 1,839 incidents in 24. Breaches of family violence orders and various types of family violence incidents being highlighted: verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, economic abuse, sexual abuse and other abuse. 3 most common drug offences recorded included cannabis, methamphetamine and prescription drugs. Youth offending has actually gone down across Merri-bek as well, with the incident rate for young offenders in 2020 being at 25%, as of last year 21%. Road safety, of course, across our community continues to remain a top issue. The community safety survey that was highlighted on the night, Acting Speaker, identified a number of concerns from 382 respondents, including safety in public places, road safety, drug and alcohol, safety of property and possession, serious organised crime, prejudice or hate-motivated crime, sexual harassment or offending, family violence and cybercrime and online safety. And it's in that regard I particularly commend the local police's work in improving safety in public places through local area commander Inspector Markakis and his team for launching a new operation priority in central Coburg, which is focused on central Coburg, Sydney Road and Victoria Street Mall. It's an operation that's very much about supporting local crime prevention and community safety outcomes for traders, families and shoppers through increased police visibility, presence, patrols and proactive community outreach. Operation Priority is directly helping respond to local community safety and antisocial behaviour concerns that have increasingly been raised with me and many others over previous months. And Speaker, the local Victoria Police were wonderfully recognised for their work at the recent Pascoe Vale Rotary's 14th Montgomery Memorial Community Policing Awards. Sergeant Andrew Thomas took out the lead award for his fantastic work with youth. Acting Sergeant Adam Bitterman, Sergeant Jeffrey Quist, Acting Sergeant Christy Givney, and commendations to Superintendent Wayne Cheeseman, Superintendent Lorna McCartney and many others.
I call the member for Eildon.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. And I rise to make a contribution